So if someone's listening right now and thinking this wordlessness, this state, I mean, we've mentioned it over the past half hour. How does one get, when we have, so many things we've got to do, how does one get to a wordless state?
Basically, and there are many paths to this, and I describe many of them in the book, but it's anything that causes your attention to drop out of the verbal mind. And you can do it by allowing yourself to pay attention to things that make it impossible to stay verbal. So one thing you can do is breathe out and then hold, instead of breathing in again, hold the exhale until you can feel your own heart beating. And that takes a little while. And then you breathe in again, and then you exhale out, and don't breathe in again until you can feel your heart, and then also the pulse in your feet, hands, and scalp. Now your body is busy feeling your entire circulatory system. To do that, it has to activate the bulk of the mind, body, brain, and come out of verbal. You can't feel your blood moving in every part of your body, your heart beating, your pulse in your wrists and hands without, and hold a verbal argument. You just can't. So that's something I do at every traffic stop. It's something I do in the doctor's office waiting. It's something I did before this interview.
You don't have to be in a room with a candle lit and gentle meditative music in the background.
No, that's a stereotype.
Okay.
Actually, most of the best ways are what T.S. Eliot called being still and still moving. So walking through nature, trekking, skiing, swimming, anything that's rhythmic motion, dancing, those things activate the body mind. Holding the body mind still is actually an extremely difficult way to reach that state.
Powerful state to be. Let's take a break because I want to talk about the sense of oneness that you've mastered over time as well.
I wouldn't say mastered.
101.9 megahertz of power.
Well, thank you for staying with us. We have Martha Beck in the studio. We're talking about Martha's brand new book, Finding Your Way in a Wild New World, 4 Steps to Fulfilling Your True Calling. And this book is 5 years in the making. And Martha, you went on, as you've described, such an interesting journey. You came across these fascinating people. Some ideas didn't work, but some literally changed everything for you.
Yeah.
And the sense of oneness, this sense of connecting. What is it? Is it connecting with everyone and everything? Can you describe it?
Well, you lose the sense of self as isolated. So there's a Harvard neuroanatomist named Jill Bolte Taylor who had a left hemisphere stroke that took her speech away for 8 years. Well, it took her 8 years to rebuild her brain. And she actually watched her own brain fail as she had the stroke because she was a brain scientist. And what she found was that once language disappeared, she now describes being in the nonverbal awareness on the right side of her brain. She said where she perceived herself as a vast energy state that was fluidly interacting with all other energy states. It was not a concept. She didn't have any concepts at the time. It was a direct, physical, empirical observation. And every mystical tradition says that if we can get out of that part of the brain and into the bigger part of the brain, we realize that we are all one vast field of energy and that no one's alone and that everything is responding to everything else. And once I had enough experiences of dropping into wordlessness, I realized you really do get that experience and it really is impossible to describe in words.
How does it serve you, though?
Well, let me give you an example. Once I was at a basketball game, a sports event, fans screaming, drinking beer, big to do. And I thought, I wonder if I could drop into wordlessness in this chaotic environment. And I was sitting with my son Adam and his friend Joey, who both have Down syndrome, and they were firing these gift cannons where into the audience they'll fire a T-shirt or a stuffed animal and everyone grabs and everyone fights for these. And Adam and Joey wanted them so much, but there was no way they were going to get them. And my heart just kind of broke because they could never catch the gifts. So then I dropped into this wordless state and everything suddenly becomes incredibly beautiful. The whole crowd feels like one organism. The people playing the game become one organism. And it was a sense of love that was so overwhelming that I actually teared up. And I looked around me to see if anyone noticed I was crying. And all around me, the crowd was acting very strange. I saw this ripple, only it was coming toward me, like a circle going out on a pond when you throw in a stone, only it was coming inward instead of going outward. And it took me several seconds to realize what was happening was that from all around me, people were handing the gifts that they had caught out of the air, trying to get them to Adam and Joey. So I'd been sitting there longing for these kids to have the experience of being able to get these gifts. A very trivial mom thought. And then I drop into oneness, and suddenly the whole crowd is responding to my longing. And there was all this peace that came, and Adam got just what he wanted, and Joey got just what he wanted. And then people started offering their gifts to each other. And just this whole love fest started in the middle of this sporting event. If you walk in that space, everything starts to help you.
So that is kind of when you talk about love, unconditional love, when you talk about connecting with others, giving, the state of giving, it's not just the receiving,
And
it's the
receiving,
giving.
yeah.
It's all of that
Yeah.
in the state of oneness.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're working on this all the time. Is it a place that you can revisit? Is it, I mean, you just spoke about going into the wordlessness and then the oneness. But is it, do you have to be in a certain mind state to reach that?
Yeah, it's very easy to just think of a category. Pretend there's a golden treasure chest in the middle of your head and take memories of moments where you felt that and relive them very, very vividly and then put them together. Like you were saying, sitting on a boulder in nature and feeling connected, and then add to that memory the memory of a dinner with wonderful friends, and then a memory of your dog when you were growing up. And you'll start to be able to drop into that state of oneness by calling up a combination of your best memories.
The feelings of butterflies, the warm, fuzzy feeling, those feelings, you're nurturing, you're almost trying to get that flame of those
you
wonderful
allow
feelings
them.
burning. Okay.
You don't have to go after them. They're right there. You
They're
just
there.
allow them into consciousness.
So, Martha, what do you hope people are going to get out of this book?
A path to healing their own souls and bodies. Really, I would love it if the whole world could be healed and restored. But what I've learned from all these very wise people is that a healer heals herself, and that the natural outpouring of compassion that comes from the healed self is what heals other things. And we cannot heal from a state of damage and injury. So find ways to become happy and healthy. That's what I want for you.
Martha Beck, thank you for coming into the Chaifm studios. It was lovely coming yesterday. I so enjoyed my afternoon, and I've so enjoyed having this conversation with you this morning.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I do hope that our listeners have been as moved, and and those who are listening and who have felt perhaps a little bit stuck, realize that they can. It's just a little nudge forward. That's Martha Beck, Finding Your Way in a Wild New World: 4 Steps to Fulfilling Your True Calling, and that's her brand new book. Thank you, Martha. It's been lovely.
The pleasure's all mine. Thank you
so much.